Good morning and welcome into the show. It is Daniel Wortman coming to you live from the Dream Imagine 8 Sports Studios. It is 8 a.m. on the East Coast. This is your 5 a.m. super early morning wake up call. Thanks for watching the show. We really do appreciate all of the viewership, the support, the comments, etc. This morning, I wanted to get to some stuff that we've not been able to get to try to catch up on some topics between just our guests this week and so on and so forth that we have not been able to knock out. First is something that was published recently by John Mata. John is a friend of the show. He was on the show not too long ago, and U.S. Soccer annual general meeting will be taking place in Nashville, Tennessee, and the National Council will be voting on vice president of U.S. Soccer. And John Mata published a letter to the U.S. Soccer delegates, and wanted to take a moment to read what he posted. Dear U.S. Soccer delegates, as you know, I have declared that I am a candidate for the office of Vice President of the United States Soccer Federation, a position I once held from 1998 to 2000. The period from 1998 to 2000 were particularly difficult for U.S. Soccer. We were recovering from our poor performance in France. The experience of serving as the vice president has given me a unique perspective of the responsibilities and demands of the post. Our federation is a membership-driven organization. Your voices are crucial in achieving our goal to make soccer the preeminent sport in America. I understand the needs of our members, as I came from the grassroots. I ran a joint state association for 10 years, and currently I serve as president of the U.S. Adult Soccer Association. These grassroots positions give me a unique perspective of our membership. I understand the needs of the federation, and even though we have been a successful organization, there is still room for improvement. As a member of the U.S. Soccer Board of Directors for the last 7 years, I have been a very independent voice and vote on issues in what I believe is best for the game, what is best for the federation, and the impact on players, referees, and the membership. I don't, quote, go with the flow, end quote. I challenge and open dialogue. I am unique in that I have been a part of this game at all levels and have touched all aspects of the game. I played the game from youth to the amateur level. I was a certified referee and have refereed games from youth up to Major League Soccer. I started and owned a professional Division III team, the New Hampshire Phantoms, which still exists today as an amateur club. I have served in the highest administrative roles in U.S. Soccer, Vice President of U.S. Soccer, Chairman of the U.S. Soccer Referee Committee, Chairman of the U.S. Open Cup, and currently serve on the Technical Development Committee, the U.S. Soccer Budget Committee, and serve on the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame Board of Directors. I believe these experiences give me the tools I need to serve as your vice president. Having served as vice president in the past, I am aware of the demands the position makes on your time. I own my own business, which has grown to the point that it is being managed by my family and staff. This allows me the time needed to dedicate to this position. Stepping into the job of vice president will require a lot of time. You have my word that if you need me there, I will be there. Being a business owner also gives the perspective of running both a for-profit and a non-profit organization. I understand the business aspect of the federation while respecting the non-profit organization that it is. Please read my paper on my positions. If you have any questions, my cell number and email are included. Please call or write, and I will answer your questions. I will appreciate your support in Nashville. That is the letter from John Mata, former vice president of U.S. Soccer, as he mentioned at the top of his letter, from 98 to 2000. Current president of the U.S. Adult Soccer Association, and candidate for vice president of U.S. Soccer. everything he wrote in this letter is pretty much who John Mata is. A lot of times when people run for office or they run for positions, they try to, drum up support by flattering themselves, by, I wouldn't say exaggerating necessarily, but just focusing on all of the positives. I think it was a very genuine letter because he does cover the qualities and characteristics of what he thinks qualifies him as a candidate and makes him the best candidate for the position. But he also acknowledges that he's been an independent voice. And at a time when U.S. soccer has the stigma due to its relationships, both business and entanglement from board influence with Major League Soccer, for example, speaking up and having an independent voice can be problematic. You can be a headache. And what I know of John is that he is one who speaks his mind and, wants to do the best thing for the game. We may not always agree on every single decision that the Federation takes, but it always, from every conversation I've ever had with him, it always seems to be that he has his heart in the right place. I can respect that. And I hope, looking at what is to come in about 9-10 days from now, that the national membership takes that upon serious consideration. Current U.S. Soccer Vice President Cindy Cone, she's been in office for a special term of 1 year. She's up for election along with John Mata. Those are the two candidates that announced qualified to run. It will be interesting to see how this shapes up, but I have no doubt that John would try to do what's best for the game in any position he's in. And so that is one of the things taking place next weekend. One of the big things taking place. We've talked about on the show quite a bit about some of the other things taking place. For example, the Federation has before it bylaws and policy amendments that should be up for consideration, and they should be discussed, but they also should be passed. For example, the equal voting rights for women's and men's professional leagues, to ensure that there is no discrimination within the Federation. That is a summary from West Virginia. Another issue that should be up for consideration from Illinois Adult Soccer Association, the publishing of the professional league standards into the policy manual. The Federation came out in denial of that idea in terms of their written response, and their reason for that is that we don't want to possibly put ourselves in a position to get sued. We don't want to put ourselves in a position where we don't have control. We don't want the members to actually have control. And they have all these excuses, and they try to hide behind random, anonymous legal counsel. The facts are that the policies of the Federation should be published in the bylaw and policy manual, period. There's no reason for it to go through any other process. Simple as that. Simple as that. It should not go through anyone else. It should be in the founding and organizational documents, which would mean bylaws or policies, and that's where it should stand, plain and simple, and should not hide behind anything else. So, I mean, that's going to be up for consideration next weekend. The other candidate up for consideration, as I mentioned, is Cindy Cohn, and she also published a letter I want to take a moment to read just in fairness for both candidates. Dear friends and colleagues, I am running for Vice President of the United States Soccer Federation in the 2020 election. I was elected Vice President in 2019 to finish out the final year of Carlos Cordero's term. Now I am running for a full 4-year term. As someone who has spent my career pursuing goals in the game, I am passionate about improving the game, which has given me so many great experiences. In my initial year as VP, I have enjoyed contributing in various areas to the Federation's objectives in pursuit of our mission to make soccer the preeminent sport in the United States. Foremost among these pursuits, I am strongly encouraged with the Federation's focus on improving our impact on the game through better understanding our membership. The creation of the committees and task forces that are providing the board members with a better understanding of the complexities that are pervasive in our country across the diversity of topics is essential to us making more informed and therein better decisions. Serving on numerous committees and task forces, nominating and governance committee, technical committee, Hall of Fame board, and co-chair the youth task force, I find these to be collaborative environments where we can better serve the game and the players who make the game. The year 2019 was a very successful year on the field with our youth, extended, and senior national teams, and especially the women's national team. I had the great honor of following our World Cup championship team in France, representing both the Federation and FIFA at multiple events, and even playing in a FIFA Legends game alongside my former teammate Christine Lilly. With the retirement of our record-setting coach Jill Ellis shortly following the World Cup, we had to quickly find new leaders of our U.S. women's national team. In this process, I was first engaged in hiring our first women's general manager, Kate Margraf. Therefore, I supported both Kate and Ernie Stewart, sporting director, in searching and hiring our new coach, Vlatko Andonovski. Both new hires are off to a great start. While I look at what this last year has brought, I most of all recognize how much work we have to do in the many areas we need to improve. In this pursuit, I am most encouraged by the collaborative spirit of those we work with and the passion people exude as we all work towards our shared goals. I would like your support to allow me to continue to serve our game in the capacity as Vice President of U.S. Soccer. Thank you. Sincerely, Cindy Parlow Cohn. This is an example of a little bit different type of letter. And it was just a lot of, to me, what I would classify as gobbledygook. It was okay. I would have liked to hear more specifics of how she leads, her willingness to serve the game, her desire to serve the game, kind of ticking off just kind of a list of, hey, here's where I'm at right now. And I enjoy being on this task force and I enjoy being on that. It doesn't inspire me. And to be frank, neither letter inspires me. The John Mata letter to me is a better, hey, I'm qualified. I'm here to serve. I'm here to, that part of it comes out a little bit, to me, more clear and clean than Cindy's letter, but neither letter is all that great in that regard. I don't get this hope and change, make America great again type of rah-rah political slogans. And, They're not outright politicians. They're soccer people. And, both Cindy and John, one thing you cannot say about their resumes and their qualifications is that you cannot say they're not soccer people. Now, you could say that about Carlos when he was running for president of U.S. Soccer. His only involvement in the game had been working on the U.S. Soccer Board of Directors. He'd never played the game. He'd never coached the game. He'd never worked within the federation at any level. He was trying to say that his qualifications were that he used to work for Goldman Sachs. That was pretty much it. And so a lot of people had reservations in the 2018 presidential election about him being president. And so one of the things he continually kept saying is, I'm going to surround myself with soccer people. I'm going to handle the business and I'm going to surround myself with soccer people. Well, he's got some soccer people around him. You've got Kate Margraf. You have Ernie Stewart. Cindy Cohn is vice president. She ran unopposed. So she's there. When you look at where we are, in the context of having now a men's general manager, a women's general manager, a sporting director, we do have some soccer people around. My then question is, what's happened to the business side? None of that has gotten mentioned in either candidacy for vice president. We are bleeding cash due to the dysfunctional structure and system of the federation because of lawsuits. And there seems to be no end to that in sight. There seems to be no end to that going forward. Where is that leadership? And that is something I would like to see the vice presidential candidates address. How do we get to a place where we're not always talking about having issues? Are big and broad and diverse, and we have our youth task force and this and that. When are we going to go beyond talking about the idea of solutions and actually solve problems? When do we fix the mess so that we're not bleeding cash in the courtroom? When do we start to treat every member with respect in being a federation for all, not a few? When do we get to that place? That's the piece I would like to see. That's the piece I would like to hear. When do these candidates and when do these members of the federation actually begin to solve the problems that exist? It seems like with each new decision that comes out, with each new, discussion about discussions, we get further and further away from solving actual problems. Both of these candidates have been in the game at various levels. Both have served or are serving as vice president of U.S. Soccer. But what I would really like to see and what I would really like to hear from both of them is the same thing I would like to hear from the federation. And that is how we solve our problems. Not how we talk about it. Not how we identify that we have problems. But how do we actually solve our problems? That's what I want to see. I want to see a roadmap. I want to see a plan. I want to see something that lays out to us that we know that we are heading in the right direction. And here's how we get there. Here's when we get there. Here's who's going to help us get there. That's what I want to see. And if you're like me and that's what you want to see, in terms of having a plan and figuring things out, there's a company called Ductic Brand that can help you do that if you're a coach or a player. They've got tools and resources that can help you plan out training sessions and make things work for you, where you can have a plan, where you're not just kind of spinning your wheels. Check them out at ducticbrand.com, DUKTIG brand.com. Use promo code DWSHOW and you will get 10% off of your next order. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in on 6th. When we look at the Federation, and we were talking before the break about what kind of some of the things that are coming up in next week, next weekend's U.S. Soccer Annual General Meeting taking place in Nashville, Tennessee. We were looking at some of the candidates running for vice president, kind of a little bit of the state of where we are as a federation. Every annual general meeting, the president does a very similar thing to what the president of the United States does, in that they give a speech and they address the national membership at the National Council meeting at the annual general meeting every year. And when we're looking at where we are as a federation, one of the things to me that we've got to start doing to figure out how we actually fix these things is we've got to be honest with ourselves, but with each other. Honesty here is the first stepping stone to solutions. We're not going to get where we want to go. We're not going to reach the potential that is American soccer without being honest with ourselves and honest with each other. We have issues. We have real issues. We talk about a lot of those issues on this show. We're going to get to an issue a little bit later in the show. One issue that's really, really concerning. The issue of GPS and some of the underbelly that is the GPS operations and other similar organizations like it. There's some concerning allegations there about labor, visas, etc. In order to fix problems, we have to be honest. We have to look at them with clarity, put them in the light and say, hey, this is working, this isn't working. This is a good thing, this is not so good. When we look at what is supposed to be our best professional league, and we compare that to the world, and we compare that to the rest of the federation, our best league, our top league, is the ceiling on the system. Now, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, that is true. Whatever your top league is the ceiling on your system. If Ligue 1 in France is not as high a quality as La Liga in Spain, as the Premier League in England, as the Bundesliga in Germany, as Serie A in Italy, if it's not as high as those four leagues, then that is the ceiling on the French system. It doesn't mean that a team can't be really good. It doesn't mean that PSG can't challenge others, but PSG would be better if it was actually playing in La Liga than it would be if it was playing in France, because that league is the ceiling on the system. Major League Soccer is the ceiling in our system. So when we look at where we are and we just take an honest look at the raw data, we see some troubling signs. For example, in 2020, Major League Soccer's 26 teams collectively equals the payroll of Manchester City. Think about that for a minute. All 26 teams equals the payroll of Man City. You can't be a top professional league and operate with that big of a disparity. You are nowhere near catching up with the top leagues in the world, and you will always be looked at by the players, the best players in the world, as the place you go on the backside of your career, not in your prime. If we want to take an honest look at where we are as a country and where we need to go, how do we improve? How do we get those solutions? How do we fix the issues? How do we get to a place where we're not spending so much money in the courtroom and we're spending more money on the field? How do we get to that place? Well, the first thing we got to do is be honest and simply acknowledge that where we are, the ceiling on our men's professional system, being Major League Soccer as the only Division I sanctioned league in America, is that our top league is at best third rate on a global standard, simply due to finances. Fix the finances, and you would make a giant step in the direction of moving up that list. But we don't. Major League Soccer's rules are specifically intended not to do so. You have Don Garber. There's a MLS CBA negotiation going on right now with the Players Association. Don Garber, as he always does, doesn't tell the truth. He cries poor. Most of our teams lose money. Most of our teams aren't successful. We're still on the way up. We can't get it done. We need help. This is the poor me myth, excuse lack of authenticity. I get it's a negotiating tactic, but it's not true. Recently, Arthur Blank came out and said, look, most of the teams are profitable. I want to see us do more. I want to see us get bigger. I want to see us do more things than we've ever done. He challenged his MLS owners to step up. We need more of that. I don't blame him. He's out there trying to fill his stadium each and every weekend and has been doing a better job at that than most other teams in the league since he came into the league. And he wants to see the likes of Portland, Seattle, LAFC replicated across the league like Atlanta United and have this league really, really rise. He knows it's not there, but he also knows most of those owners are making money. And they're all making money through Soccer United marketing. But on the MLS side of the ledger, he knows they're also making money. Which puts the two comments, Don Garber's, poor me, I ain't got no money, over here next to the truth that most teams have the money. They could do more. They really don't want to. And then when you look at the real data, that 26 teams collectively equals Manchester City's payroll, you go, are they really interested in being a top league? Are they really interested in going beyond a real estate play? Are they really interested in the game or using the game as a leverage to build wealth by fleecing taxpayers and communities to get public funds to support their real estate projects? Is that what this is really about? Is that what's really the goal, the end goal of Major League Soccer? So that's an example. How do we fix that? How do we get a solution for that? We have to be honest with ourselves and we have to be honest with each other in our ambition and in our doing, our actions, not just our words. Empty marketing slogans talking about being one of the best leagues by 2022. No one believes that anymore. We know the truth. No one believes that. So Don Garber hasn't even really been using that that often on his interviews because everyone is laughing at him. We all know the truth. We know the league isn't there. There's only so many decades. I mean, think about this statement. There's only so many decades you can use. We're an up-and-coming league. You've either come and arrived, or that's not actually an intention to be a top-quality league. That's just an excuse to try to placate or keep away the pressure. And what bothers me about the federation side of this, because Major League Soccer is a league, they are free to do whatever they want to do in terms of their internal vision and goals and ambition. I mean, you do what you want to do there. If your aim is to be a third-rate league on a global stage and not put a lot of money into the game, that's your decision. What I have an issue with is the federation being in bed with them and giving them preferential treatment and keeping away their competition, which, because they're the first division league in this country, they're the ceiling on everyone else. That's what I have a problem with. Major League Soccer, you do what you want to do, but the federation needs to always challenge every member in regards to ambition and goals and vision. If the USL And I hate their branding strategy. I hate it because it's just a blatant marketing ripoff of the English system. I don't like it. I wish we were American in our nomenclature, that we'd figure out a way to name our leagues instead of USL Championship, USL League One, USL League Two. I wish we were not just going over to England and going, they have the Championship, they have League One, League Two, and so we want to launch the Premier League in America. Like, that's... I wish we would do better. And do it differently. But let's say the USL came out and said, you know what? We have some owners that want to really invest in the game. They want to grow the game, and we think we can do it really well. And so we're going to open up a first division league. We're going to call it the USL Premier League. So now we've got the USL Premier League, the USL Championship, USL League One, USL League Two. Let's just say that's what they ran with. This is hypothetical. But, looking at the nomenclature they're using right now, it's not that far of a stretch to say that's what they would do. So if they did that, right, and they came out and they said, we want to open up a first division league, but we want to be bigger, we want to be bolder, we want to put more money, more revenue, more resources into this league, and we want to connect everything together. Fine. My thing when I look at this is the federation going to be supportive? Because here's what we see right now. Here's what the data says. Here's what the truth is about the federation. When it came time to reorganize the development academy, which has been causing more problems than it has ever solved, what did they do? They gave every Major League Soccer's team's academy preferential treatment. You get top status. Period. We're not going to do an audit. We're not going to figure out whether you're the best where you are. Because you're a part of Major League Soccer, we're giving you top status. How is that good for the game? You get carte blanche, blank check, entry into top status, top level, top classification of the U.S. Soccer Development Academy simply because you're a member of Major League Soccer? What if your academy is the worst academy youth system for 300 miles? What if there's 5, 6, 8, 10 other academies that are better than a Major League Soccer academy? Federation was like, well, we don't really care. I mean, we're giving them first division. We have to be honest with ourselves. That means honest in our assessments. I'm not saying every Major League Soccer academy is worse than everything around it, but the fact that it got direct entry into Division I in every single market, and other teams, other clubs who were more successful got shut out, that's a problem. That's not fixing issues. That's making more issues. That's making things worse, not better. That's not solving problems. That's creating more lawsuits. There are reports that the boys' DA got free heart monitors and the girls' DA didn't. And that there are lawsuits surrounding that. Now you have these other stories that are starting to come out about big companies that operate in the youth space who make millions of dollars using illegal labor, false visas, working staff 80 hours a week because they're here working in under one condition, and therefore they feel pressured, like if they say no, that they're going to be sent home. We have all these different issues going on throughout U.S. soccer, without American soccer, within American soccer. We're not solving these problems. We're not making things better. We're not being real with ourselves, and therefore they continue to linger. Another big glaring issue, it's one we talked about on the show a couple days ago, parent education. When Eric Winalda was running for president of U.S. Soccer in 2018, I heard him say this over and over and over to voters. One of the biggest areas that the Federation does need to get involved with, where they are not involved right now, is parent education. We have so many well-meaning parents whose soccer may not have been their first choice as a kid. They may not have even played it as a child, but they want their kids to play. And their kids want to play. How do we support them? How do we give them the tools and resources? Like Tom Byer's book, Soccer Starts at Home, Football Starts at Home. That is a perfect resource to give families in America so that they can help their kids be proficient with the ball at their feet when they show up for practice the first day. That is something pre-families paying money into the system that would actually reap rewards down the road, 5, 10, 15 years down the road for the Federation. You might actually reverse the trends of losing players if we actually had kids show up proficient on the ball. What if we could take 2, 3, 4 million registered players and turn them into 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 million registered players? What does that look like for the country? For everyone working within the game, that means more opportunity. It means more resources. Those are real things that the Federation could be doing, investments into the future. You want to make an investment in the grassroots, figure out a way to start providing resources to parents. And don't nickel and dime them when their kids are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. They should not be paying $40, $50, or $100 to take a grassroots course to coach their kid when they're 6 or 7 years old. It's a digital platform. The costs are minimal. You can easily afford, even if you paid 5 instructors to audit the course every year, which would obviously not be an ongoing everyday job. If you paid 5 people a consultant fee, you're still probably talking about less than $100,000 a year between technology resources and consultant fees to audit a grassroots program that educates parents for free. Is that an investment in the future that we should be making? Yes. We should be doing things like that as the Federation. We should be finding ways to do it better. Take an honest look in the mirror and go, look, our parents don't know enough. They don't know enough about the pathways. They don't know enough about the opportunities. They don't know enough about the game itself. How can we arm them with the tools and resources so that their kids' experience is even better than the kids' experience 10 years ago or 20 years ago? And how can that help us going forward? Can that begin to get us to reverse the downward trend of registrations? And can we turn those back in the other direction and go from 2, 3, 4 million registered players to 5, 8, 10, 15 million registered players over time? That's the mentality we need. Those are problem solving. I'm going to make an investment in the future type of thinking. Not, we're going to do this, so we're going to give it carte blanche to Major League Soccer. We're going to do this, and we're going to create a gatekeeper system. Only those who we want can get access. Our federation is not set up for the best and brightest. Innovation is not encouraged. New ideas, creative ideas, they're not welcomed. There are so many people working within the game that feel threatened if you ask a question. You're coming for my job. You're trying to step over me to get another job. The entire culture within the Federation isn't a culture of problem-solving, innovation, creativity, success, excellence. The culture is not successful. Our women's program is succeeding despite not being treated equally to their male counterparts. Our U.S. women's national team has had success despite our system. The world is making investments in the women's game, and over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, we're not going to be able to sit back and rest on our laurels. They are coming. And we have to continue to find ways to get better. We have to continue to find ways to do it better. We have to be honest with ourselves. It's okay to say, look, we're not good enough here. We want to get better. I sat in last year's AGM in a breakout session, and there were questions tossed around about how do we get unsanctioned leagues to play within the Federation. One of the excuses given at the time was Jay Berhalter, who said, well, the crest is enough. Just having that crest is enough motivation to join the Federation. The disconnect in that answer was so absurd. The crest? They're already not using the crest and not coming to the Federation now. That's not an answer. It's not a solution at the very least. It's not working now. This is an example of what I'm talking about, where the Federation has this posture, this mentality, where rather than embrace honesty and go, you know what? They're not sanctioned now, so really we're going to have to figure that out because we're not doing the right things to get them. So we need to figure out, does that mean we've got to do a better job with fees? Do we have to do a better job with access? Do we have to do a better job with opportunity? What is it going to take for them to be a part of the system? What motivation do you have if you run an unaffiliated league to play with the Federation? You don't need them for insurance. If you're not going to be a part of a connected system of leagues where a local team could win that unsanctioned, what is now an unsanctioned league, if it was a part of the system and sanctioned within U.S. Soccer, you win the league and then you move up to let's say a state league, and then from a state league to a regional league, and then from a regional league, to kind of a big conference, and then, so on and so forth up to national. If you don't have that kind of connected system of leagues set up, what motivation does a local league have? They don't need to be affiliated. They don't need you for insurance. Their players can play and they don't need you. So what is the Federation going to do to change that? How do they change that? Going around and saying you can use the crest, that doesn't mean anything. And despite what U.S. Soccer thinks of themselves, no one looks at the U.S. Soccer shield like the Jordan logo. Newsflash. So honesty for me is how we get forward. Honesty for me is how we find the solutions, how we do things to do soccer better in this country. Speaking of doing things better, Charity Water is always looking to do things better for people around the world by providing them clean drinking water. And They are changing villages, and that is changing people's lives by providing this clean drinking water. And they have a way to provide clean drinking water to every single person on the planet. The only thing holding them back is resources. So to be a part of that movement, to be a part of that story, go to charitywater.org. As I mentioned before, they are one of the few charities in this world that when you give $100, that $100 goes to the clean water, not to their staff. They raise their own separate money for staffing. That is another incredible thing about Charity Water. Check them out at charitywater.org. Learn more about them. Join their story at charitywater.org. We'll be right back after this.
No one, no man, no woman, no child should ever have to drink green water with bugs, with algae, with disease in it. Bad water and a lack of toilets kills more people than all the wars in the world. We know how to bring clean drinking water right now to every single person on earth. And when you can bring water into communities, it truly transforms them. It changes everything. Or you could know that you'd made a difference. You could know that you had truly impacted the life of a family, of a community, of a region. There was either clean water or there wasn't. We believe in a world where every single person has clean and safe water to drink, and we will continue fighting until that happens.
Show. Thanks for tuning in on this Thursday, February the 6th. Today we've just been kind of going through looking at what is coming up next weekend and this opportunity for American soccer, for the Federation and American soccer to look ourselves in the mirror and use honesty to find policies and solutions and a way forward. You know, we need a plan. We have no strategic plan. Fail to plan to fail. That is a paradigm in life and in business. It's a principle I try to teach my kids. Fail to plan to fail. When we look at where we are, when we look at where we are as a federation, and we look at the fact there is no strategic plan, we are planning to fail. By our very nature, we are planning to fail. Think about that for a minute. Carlos Cordero has been in office since 2018. And in 2 years, we have no strategic plan. 2 years. We are a ship without a rudder. We have no idea what direction we're going to go. We're constantly having to face ongoing pressure, legal challenges. We fully fund the boys' DA. We don't fund the girls' DA. Oh, rumor of another lawsuit. We allow Major League Soccer to keep solidarity payments and not pay youth clubs. Oops. Another lawsuit. We give Major League Soccer preferential treatment time and time again. And we vote to destroy other leagues like the NASL. Oops, another lawsuit. When we look at all of the issues within American soccer, it really comes back to, we've been talking about honesty, and we've got to be real, authentic with ourselves and with each other, that here are some issues, now let's find solutions. You know, providing resources to parents free of charge should be one of our solutions. Digital education doesn't cost us very much. Tiny amount of money on an annual basis to arm parents with resources. That's something we should be doing. But without a plan, we plan to fail. When we look at the Federation, we look at where we are, I mean, we have to acknowledge that this is a major issue. We have failed to plan for far too long. In the absence of a strategic plan and a vision that says, here's how we grow the game and make the game better for everyone, we open ourselves up to bad decisions. We open ourselves up to getting distracted. We open ourselves up to making poor decisions that lead to legal challenges, which puts a strain on financial resources. All from a lack of planning. If you don't think planning is important, look at the state of this federation. We are constantly dealing with issues time and time again because we don't have a strategic plan. There's been nothing rolled out, laid out to say, here's how we're going to find the best and brightest soccer players in this country that we can get into our programs. There's been nothing that lays out, here's the pathway. There's nothing that lays out how we connect each other from every level and every area in this country. There's been nothing laid out by the Federation that says, here's how we arm parents with resources and education. So in the absence of a plan, we plan to fail. Hence why we have all of this, the dysfunction. Hence why we have all of the issues that we're dealing with at the Federation level. We've just let people go rogue, do whatever you want. And we may even know about it, but we're not going to do anything about it. So you have companies like GPS and others who are coming under pressure with these accusations and allegations about unfair labor treatment, illegal visas, lying on visa applications, running all these programs that the Federation has been accused of knowing about and just turning a blind eye. Goes back to failing the plan to fail. We just let people go do whatever they want to do. You go build your fiefdom, your kingdom, your money-making ATM. And then later we got to go back and figure out how to fix the problems. We have a youth task force that was announced. Nothing has come out of. You can talk about, if you're Cindy Cohn, about being a co-chair of that task force. Where are the solutions? Where's the action plan? There isn't one. We fail to plan. We plan to fail. That is our show for today. I hope that that we finally, in the future, create a plan to do something about it, to fix American soccer, to make it better for everyone, not just a few. Thanks for watching the show. You can always watch on Facebook.com/WRKMN, YouTube, Twitter, at DanielWorkman.com. You can also now watch on BegaTV.com. Our show is moving to Bega TV, and we have some exciting news about that. We will be in Nashville covering the U.S. Soccer AGM on Bega TV. It's a new platform that we're rolling out, and it's a digital soccer experience, and I hope you go check it out. We will be adding additional content and shows very soon at BegaTV.com. We'll also be covering the Laureus Sports Awards in Berlin in a couple weeks. So exciting stuff on the horizon. We've got a little bit of content information out right now. Much more will be coming over the next few weeks and months at BegaTV.com. So you can watch there. You can catch me on Twitter or Instagram at Daniel Workman as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see everyone again tomorrow.